I've watched businesses build their entire growth engine around one platform, and the pattern repeats. Everything feels stable until the platform reminds them who actually controls the environment. The misunderstanding is treating access to attention as ownership of attention. A platform can produce reach, leads, customers, and momentum, but none of that makes the platform a business asset. When one platform controls the flow of attention into a company, the company has dependency disguised as stability. That distinction matters because growth built on dependency behaves very differently from growth built on a system. So if you're new here, my name is Michael and I run ResurrectionMedia.com. It's a company that helps business owners scale. Now let's continue. In today's world, every business needs attention, but attention and control are two different things. Social platforms control the environment where discovery happens. They control distribution, they control visibility, they control the rules governing access to the audience. The business participates inside that environment. It does not own it. That is rented attention. The platform can be extremely valuable without being permanent infrastructure. However, the mistake begins when a useful distribution channel becomes the foundation of the entire marketing system. And as long as the channel performs, the distinction is easy to ignore. Leads continue arriving, engagement remains consistent, and sales follow. The business begins planning around that consistency as if the conditions creating it belong to the business, but they don't. An algorithm changes, an account gets restricted, user behavior shifts, a feature changes distribution, a platform can experience an outage. None of these events represent an unusual failure of the system. They simply reveal how the system always worked. The platform controlled access, the business depended on it, and after this pattern repeats, something else becomes clear. The strongest businesses do not treat platforms as isolated marketing channels. They treat them as separate roads into the same underlying business, and that changes the structure completely. So one road can slow down without stopping the destination from being reached. One audience can change without removing every source of discovery. One algorithm can reduce distribution without making the company disappear. And this is why diversification creates more than reach. It creates resilience. And there's also another effect that becomes visible over time. Customers rarely experience a business through one isolated interaction. They encounter a company in one place, see it again somewhere else, search for it later, examine its website, watch its content, read what it has published, and gradually form a judgment. That means that repeated exposure creates familiarity, and familiarity reduces uncertainty, and reduced uncertainty creates confidence. That process is difficult to manufacture through claims because credibility is not created by saying a business is established. Credibility appears when the external evidence keeps confirming the same thing over and over again. The website exists, the content is consistent, the videos reinforce the same ideas, the social presence matches the brand, and the message remains coherent across environments. The business appears real because reality keeps producing evidence of it. And that's why a multi-platform presence is not merely a distribution strategy. It becomes digital proof. The deeper principle here is the difference between exposure and ownership. Exposure creates the introduction, but ownership preserves the relationship beyond the environment where the introduction happened. Social platforms are powerful exposure systems. Owned assets create continuity. A website exists outside the social feed. An email list preserves direct access to an audience. Articles remain searchable. Evergreen videos continue educating people long after their original publication. These assets compound differently because their value is not tied entirely to one platform that decides to distribute today. This is also where content systems become more important than individual posts. A business operating without a system keeps returning to zero. It needs another post, another idea, another piece of content, another attempt at attention. A system behaves differently. One strong idea can exist as long-form content, short-form content, written content, educational material, and multiple points of discovery. The idea remains consistent while the format changes around the environment. So that means that the business is no longer relying on isolated moments of performance. It is building a library, and that library becomes infrastructure. This is exactly why chasing virality and building distribution are fundamentally different activities. Virality concentrates attention into a moment, but distribution creates repeated opportunities for discovery. So one is an event and the other is a system. The same distinction explains why follower counts alone reveal very little about stability. A large audience inside one controlled environment is still an audience inside one controlled environment. The number changes the scale, but it does not change the ownership structure. When dependency is ignored, ordinary platform changes begin producing business-level consequences. A decline in distribution becomes a decline in leads, an outage becomes a marketing interruption, an account problem becomes a visibility problem, and a change in user behavior becomes a growth problem. The platform did not suddenly become dangerous. The dependency was already there. It simply became visible. When the principle is understood late, diversification often becomes reactive. The business starts expanding precisely when its original source of attention is already weakening. When the principle is understood early, the structure looks different. Content becomes reusable, marketing becomes easier to organize, the brand develops multiple points of discovery, and customers encounter consistent evidence across different environments. So that means that one channel can weaken while the broader system continues to operate, and growth becomes less dependent on the daily behavior of a single algorithm. And that's the real value of diversification. Not being everywhere, not producing more noise, not collecting platforms, but building enough independent paths into the business that no single external environment controls whether that company can still be found. Platforms will change, algorithms will change, audiences will move, new channels will gain influence, and existing channels will lose it. And those changes are normal. The advantage here belongs to businesses that understand the difference between using a platform and depending on one. Attention creates opportunity and systems create continuity. And the businesses built around continuity remain visible long after individual channels stop behaving the way they once did. So if you like this type of content, just make sure to subscribe. If you have a question, you need some clarity, just drop it in the comments below. And if you're a business owner looking to take advantage of social media marketing to help you scale your brand and business, then reach out. Our company handles social media marketing for 7 to 9 figure companies. So if you're ready to scale your business with our help, then just simply reach out. Hope you have an amazing day, dominate your path, and make it happen. I'll see you on the next video.